You know, I probably should have guessed that you'd be awake. I have no idea why I expected you to actually be able to sleep. No, it makes total sense. You wake up, you don't know a damn thing about yourself. All of a sudden, some guy finds you and swears up and down he knows everything about you. He seems to be the only one around with any answers. Yeah, I get it. No, firewood. We should be good for a while. Although, I am pretty hungry. So, maybe next time I go out, I'll try to find something to eat. I'm sure you're hungry too. Yeah, I guessed you'd say that. You want me to keep going, right? Well, I want you to know that I'm trying to go slow with this so that you process everything. Speaking of which, the things I told you, you hopefully recall them now that I've told you about them, right? Maybe now that I've said a little bit more about what happened, maybe you're able to recall those memories a little bit easier. You do remember. That's good. Suffice to say you believe me. Well, at least there's that victory. Listen, I know you want to know more, but we need to take this slow. The only way you're going to truly remember the things that I tell you is if we take it slow. Because, to be honest with you, I could just go through the important shit and be done in 15 minutes. But would you remember anything that way? No, you just have to take my word for it and just pretend like everything is okay when you know it's not. But believe me, I do want you to remember everything. And the only way that's going to happen is if we take this slow. So, I'll continue. But just know, I'm not going to be going for very long. I need you to process and understand the things that I'm telling you, so that you actually remember them. You get me? Good. So, that being said, where did we leave off? Yeah, thank you. I remember now. So, let's continue. The ride into town felt a lot shorter than it was. You stayed in your room experimenting with the two venoms. The carriage ride was smooth as silk, allowing you to tamper with the samples you took. You were the curious type. Once curiosity was sparked, it didn't go away until your thirst for knowledge was quenched. You looked at the venom samples back and forth, over and over again, needing to deftly wipe blood away from the venom sample taken away from the victim. You inspected them each closely, back and forth, over and over again, until you felt dizzy, but you came to one ultimate conclusion. These venom samples did not match. They were entirely different types of venom, not just in effect, but in source. The ghoul did not kill the woman you found. You left your room and walked toward the front seat.
What is it, Mouse? Feeling motion sick? Oh, you finished your analysis of the venoms. Well, what conclusions did you reach? Different venoms. I must say, I'm shocked. A ghoul being the source of the killings was far more likely than a vampire, but I suppose we can't have it easy. How are we to know what we're dealing with, then?
Well, it wouldn't be a bad idea to prick someone's finger and see how the blood reacts to venom.
What good would that do? The venom was already in blood when we found it.
So then what do you suggest?
We make a small incision in the skin and put a drop of venom in one of our bodies.
Are you insane? You must have a mortician in your family you owe a favor to.
What's the problem? Vampire venom is harmless. That's the whole point of venom, after all.
What if it drugs us out?
Then one of us is in for the best nap of our life.
And if this venom isn't vampire venom and it kills us?
An even better, longer nap.
Fine. You know the rules, right? There's only one way to settle this.
Ah, the ancient rite of passage. The deciding rule passed down from hunter to hunter.
They both eyed each other carefully, squinting. Their fingers wiggled in anticipation. You could hear a pin drop in the room. All of a sudden,
1, 2, 3, not it.
Not it.
both of their hands shot towards their face, and they each placed their index fingers on their nose deftly and with great precision. They both turned to you and then pointed at you. You stammered in disbelief. How could they do this to you?
All right, Mouse, it looks like we will test it on you. This is a great plan, actually. As hunters, we've developed a small bit of resistance to the stuff.
Hey, relax. If it's deadly, you'll know immediately, and we have a few serums left that are cure-alls. That particular one is expensive, so let's hope it doesn't make you die. It just makes you really, really sleepy.
Raven picked out a chest from the shelf beside him and pulled a scalpel from the chest. You grimaced, instantly full of fear. Swan waved at you to get your attention.
Well, you have decently long fingernails, so that means you can dig them into your skin. When he makes a quick incision, just look over at me and dig your fingernails into your palm as hard as you can. It'll hurt, but you'll control the pain. Got it?
Before you could nod in agreement, you felt a swift and sharp pain on your other arm. You yelped, looking over to see that it was bleeding. Raven was cleaning the scalpel and putting it away. You and Swan looked over at him with a stern, agitated look. Raven shrugged, confused.
What?
Anyways, let's try the venom. Again, Mouse, if you feel pain, that means it is not vampire venom. That is your cue to let us know, so we can have you not die.
You nodded hesitantly. Raven pulled out a swab, soaking it in the venom, and then swabbed it into the wound. It stung at first, and then the room began to spin. You felt dizzy, your eyelids grew heavy, and you began to wonder what you wanted for dinner. Raven reached out and slapped you in the face lightly.
You rat. You all right?
You looked over at him and began to wonder if he always had two heads. You certainly hadn't noticed the other one before.
Well, it doesn't look deadly.
You looked over at Swan and agreed with the ancient lizard man before you. Isn't Swan a strange name for a reptilian person? Before you could answer, your brain felt foggy, and before you knew it, you winced and began to stir. Your eyes slowly opened with great effort, and you noticed you were sitting in a chair at a table. You blinked weakly, still in a daze. You looked around the room to see Raven and Swan in the driver's seat. Again. Raven lost his additional head, and Swan was cured of their lizardhood. You blinked and then coughed, standing up. They turned around.
Ah, you're finally awake. Got caught trying to cross the border, right? Just kidding. I heard that joke in town recently. How do you feel? Well, that's no surprise. You'll need a few minutes to walk it off. You've been out for about 45 minutes or so. But our experiment was a success. While you were asleep, we extracted the little venom remaining in your system, and the rest will be flushed out the next time you use the restroom. Congratulations, Mouse. You successfully analyzed vampire venom. And might I add, you make a wonderful guinea pig. Maybe we should change your code name.
Not bad, Rat. Better than I expected. Now all we gotta do is get written permission from the town mom and head out and bag us a bloodsucker.
Yes! Just kill a vampire. How simple, am I right?
Even if it's against the devil himself, I'd rather know what we're up against than be in the dark about it. At least now we can prepare.
You always were more excited about the combat aspect of the job than anything else. Makes me fear what would happen if I were a monster.
If you were a monster, you wouldn't be a hunter, and we wouldn't be partners.
Yes, we wouldn't be friends. You're right.
I said partners.
Ooh, look, here we are. Not a very big town, is it?
No, and all the mud on the ground is getting in the wheels. Is this rain gonna let up?
Park there. The mayor's office is just ahead.
Raven turned the carriage into a spot to the side of the biggest building in town, yet it still wasn't very big. It was only made of brick rather than wood compared to the others, and it had a staircase leading up to the door. The carriage stopped, and the two hunters rose to their feet, walking past you. They opened the door outside the carriage and turned to you.
You've done all we need of you. You can remain here until the job is finished. When it is, we'll return with your payment and take you back home. Till then, we have a library in the back if you'd like something to do. So... I'm sorry?
Wait. You wanna come with us? You got a screw loose? Why? This ain't a ride-along, kid. We're not gonna be here to show you the sights. We needed you for a job, and if we don't return you, Greta isn't gonna be happy. Stay here.
Well, wait a minute now. If they're so curious, what better way to state their curiosity than by indulging it? Besides, we're only talking to the mayor, who I very much doubt is a danger to them. When we hunt the actual prey, then we'll leave them here.
Fine. But you're in for a boring meeting that will do nothing for you in terms of wanting some action. That ghoul jumping at you is as good as it's gonna get this time around. They motioned you to follow, and you did so. They hopped out of the carriage, and you followed them. The storm hit your head again, and you raised your hood. Your boots squished softly in the wet road. You noticed that passers-by were ogling you. You felt awkward and shy, and you didn't know why you were being looked at. It felt like they stared in silent judgment, but you couldn't make out anyone's expression due to the rain and the subtle darkness. You get used to it. You turned to him and saw that he was cleaning the wheels. You blinked curiously. People stare at us all the time in this line of work. We ain't normal, and we don't fit in. But you get used to it. Luckily for you, you won't have to. Well, isn't it obvious? You aren't staying, are you? You're here for a single job that you already finished. You're done. Nothing less for you to do here. Besides, you don't want to do what we do. It's a lot of meetings, talking, bartering, reconnaissance, research, preparation, and a tiny, tiny bit of action. Unless you live for that fighting or you really like talking, reading, gathering supplies, you'll hate this. Comes with a lot of bullshit, too. You spend the rest of your life going from town to town, rarely having any time at home. Probably staying unmarried. Probably having no kids unless you want to be a deadbeat that doesn't take care of them. And you'll spend every single day getting gawked at like you're a monster yourself. That, or you'll just die young. You finished cleaning the wheel and walked up to the steps behind Swan. You watched him walk away. He clearly had bitterness and anger within him, but you didn't know why, and you likely never would. You followed him up and entered through the door behind him. It was a well-lit building with desks and a reception area all around you. Swan was already talking to the woman at the front desk, carrying on what seemed to be a pleasant conversation. When Raven approached her, she turned to him and her smile faded. His presence was the opposite of pleasant.
Took you long enough, old friend. I was just talking with Janet here about the new additions to the building. Did you know they added 2 new offices in less than 6 months? 2 of them.
Where's the mayor? We have a meeting with him.
Already taken care of. We have permission to proceed. Down this hall and to the left, then at the end of that hall.
How do you have such detailed, intricate conversations in 12 and a half seconds?
If you're a people person, you'd understand.
Can we go?
Indeed. Come along, you two. We have a lot to talk about.
You followed them down a long hall, and as Swan instructed, turned left and down another. At the end of the hall, there was a pristine wooden door embroidered with gold with a name on it. Mayor of East Lodge, Jeffrey C. Kimbley, it said. Swan knocked gently on the door, and almost instantly, a voice on the other end muffled through the door.
Enter.
Swan opened the door and walked inside, and you followed them in. Raven entered the room after you. The room was small, but homey. It had paintings, awards, and several cabinets of what you assumed to be official documents regarding East Lodge.
Can I help you with something?
Yes, we're here about the contract. A Sister Annabeth of the new East Lodge Church?
The mayor looked up at last, his eyes leaving his work for a moment. He looked through shoddy glasses. He looked to be in his mid-40s with short, dark hair and gray hairs on the sides. He removed his spectacles and stood upright, almost surprised to see you three. He walked around his desk and extended his hand, which Swan gladly shook.
Oh, thank goodness you're here. This has been on my mind all day. You certainly came in a hurry.
Naturally, my good man. We're so sorry for your loss. Both of them.
Aye, they were both gifts and treasures to this town. 'Tis a shame to have lost them to such avoidable circumstances.
Avoidable, you say? I sincerely doubt being killed by a vampire counts as avoidable. They're bloody good at it.
There were a few things I neglected to inform you, as I wanted to confirm what you were going against before you did anything. One of my guards told me there's a possibility of a ghoul attack.
This young detective right here actually confirmed with us that the ghoul venom found nearby the body does not match the venom in the wound on the body. The only logical option at this time is that it is a vampire.
You, young one, can you confirm that? I see. Then I suppose I can tell you what I know.
The mayor went back to his seat and sat down. He took a deep breath, then leaned on the table, closing his hands together and leaning on them.
I know who's responsible for these killings.
What? Why didn't you tell us that before?
I needed to make sure. I needed a true, probable cause to go after them. Because if I fail, if anyone fails, they will know that it was my idea, and they will attack me and my people. I've been trying for years not to anger them, and I thought I was doing good. Then this happened, and I just... I don't know what to do anymore.
This creature is a vampire, then?
It is. It's been stalking this village for some time. A woman. She looks young, but don't be fooled. She's crafty. And vicious.
We've dealt with vampires. We know what to do.
You'd better be sure. This thing cannot make its way back to town. She has to die.
Of course. But you are aware East Lodge is not in our jurisdiction, yes?
I am. I'm willing to give you the full support of our local authorities to ensure this goes exactly as planned.
You're right. This was avoidable. You should have contacted us about the vampire far before the killings.
What was I supposed to do? She hadn't done anything wrong.
We would have simply blessed the threshold that they occupy and forced them to vacate to another place.
Then she would have been someone else's problem. No. This must end.
Where is the vampire located?
Near where Sister Annabeth was found. She should be shacked up at her old church. It's been abandoned for 30 years. Although, I'd heard whispers that Annabeth went there to pay respects now and then.
I see. Let us be about getting those papers signed. This will take a while, you two, so please wait in the carriage.
On it. Come get us when you're ready.
Wait, really? I assumed you'd be angry.
Angry you're keeping me out of a boring meeting? Please, I'm gonna go take a nap. Come on, Rat.
Wow. Well, Raven, I must say I am impressed. I won't be long.
Yeah, you will.
Well, I'll go quickly. Don't miss me too bad.
You ain't gotta go worry about that. We'll just sit tight till you're ready. You followed Raven out of the room and he closed the door behind you. He yawned and started walking down the hall. Alright, we're gonna need a lantern, a few stakes, a flask of holy water, and a few guns, and then we should be good to go. To the church. Where else? You don't think I'm actually waiting around, do you? Yeah, of course I'm going after the vampire. So are you coming or not? You got all nosy about the job. Well, come on then, soldier. Let's see how curious you really are. Or are you not a rat after all? Maybe I was wrong about you. Maybe you're more of a chicken. What an expression. Relax. If you're that worried, stay behind me. I'm tired of Swan treating me like I'm their apprentice still. We became partners a few years ago and they still treat me like they're my master or mentor or something. It's time I prove I've graduated. Now, what the hell am I explaining this to you for? Not like you care. Oh. Well. Thanks, I guess. Anyway, time for a promotion for me. And a dose of reality for you. You walked side by side with Raven, clutching your arms, trying to stay warm on the wet pathway leading out of town. You showed him a map you found leading to the ruined old church, and you made a short walk with him. He held up a bright lantern, giving you both enough light to see in front of you. The rain was cold and frosty. He looked over at you. You know, if you're that cold, you really should have brought a coat. Listen, I hate to state the obvious, but I mean, come on, winter's coming and you didn't even pack a coat. That's your own fault. You don't think that gigantic cloak is enough to keep you warm, do you? Especially when fighting. I mean, sure, it's ease of movement and it doesn't restrict your arms, but come on, you're gonna freeze to death with that thing. No, I don't particularly mind. More of an observation, I guess. What are you, curious about my life now? It's not that interesting, believe me. But hey, if it'll get you to shut up and stop being so weird. Fine, ask away. Can't tell you my real name. Sorry. Policy. And more than that, I don't want to. I don't want to tell you the reason that I don't want to tell you either. Pick something else. Not very interesting questions are these. I've been doing this for 7 years now. Yeah, I bet not as long as you were expecting, right? Bet you were expecting, oh, I've been doing this my whole life. I've been doing this since I was 5 years old. Well, that's not true. No. Haven't even really been doing this for 7 years. I've mostly been job shadowing for 2 or 3, and then I've really been doing this for about 4. So, I'm not super experienced, but I'm pretty good at what I do, actually do. Are you sure you're okay? You're shivering. Ugh. Easiest monster. I mean, ghouls are pretty up there. They're unintelligent and highly aggressive, and the worst thing that they can do is bite you, but Nah, well, you know. You've already seen them. Although, as easy as ghouls are, they're no Puff. Oh no, Puff's not the real name. Listen, I don't call things by their real name. What's the point in that? Why would I call something their real name when I can convey what they are just by saying a good nickname for them? Strikix, on the other hand, there's no nickname for them. You could call them demon, but those already exist. And there are a lot of different kinds. What? Are you surprised that demons are real? No. Take solace in that you've never encountered one. And even if you did, I doubt you'd know about it. Demons are smart. They wouldn't let you know that they were a demon unless they wanted you to know. Oh, a puff? Oh, it's exactly what the name implies. It's like a very white, puffy ball that just floats towards you. But it floats towards you in such an annoyingly, frustratingly slow pace that you would be an idiot not to kill it. All you gotta do is just poke it with a knife or a sword or something. Or shoot it, I guess. And it explodes. Just dies. Oh, and if that weren't enough, if that easy kill weren't enough and how slow they move, the moment they see you, they let out a high-pitched, annoying wail. It's not super loud, so it doesn't hurt your ears. It's just annoying. It's almost like they're saying, hey, shoot me. It's pretty easy to kill them. Most people would be able to kill them. However, I will say this. Don't let them touch you. They're toxic. And if they get their puffiness on you, it'll probably kill you. So, just kill them the moment you can. Other than that, I don't think there's another easier monster. Yeah, I think it's just that. Why are you asking all these questions anyway? You're not honestly considering doing what we do, are you? Well, I already warned you once. It ain't fun. It ain't pretty. But fine by me. If you want to throw your life away, just don't do it on my time. You really are cold, aren't you? Stop. Just stop real fast. He set his lantern down and began removing his coat. He took it off entirely and put it over your shoulders. It was fur-lined and warm, and your body instantly began to heat up. He took off his hat and put it on your head as well. You looked at him, confused. His hair was already becoming wet. Look, if this thing puts up a fight, it's just going to get knocked off anyway. Just keep it safe for me. His clothing was entirely black and gray, and he wore a nice jacket underneath his duster that covered his wrists, along with a single black leather glove on his right hand. Then you realized that he favored his right hand. It was obvious he was right-handed, yet you hadn't seen him use his right hand at all, only his left. You figured him for just some sort of show-off. Church is close. Don't wander off. Stay close behind me. He picked up his lantern and kept walking, his hair drenching in the rain. You looked around, making sure to keep an eye out for ambushes. You'd been walking for some time and nothing jumped out at you. Must be because the bodies were removed, you thought. Come to think of it, you hadn't seen Sister Annabeth since you got there. Did they already move her to the morgue? It was a logical conclusion to come to. He stopped daydreaming. Eyes open. Church ahead. You looked ahead and saw a dilapidated building. The stained glass was cracked and broken, and the brick was falling apart. You swore you heard thunder crackle and lightning flash the moment you saw it. What a creepy and unnerving feeling.
You reached towards the door, and Raven put his right arm out, motioning you to stop. He put an ear to the door for a few moments, and you made sure to stay quiet. He stood there for about 15 seconds and then turned to you and motioned his head towards the door. He slowly opened the door, and its hinges whined cruelly. You walked past him, and he closed the door behind you. Listen, I don't know your real name, and you're not going to know mine. We simply are not friends, but that does not stop me from giving a shit about whether you live or die. You are a human who has never, I repeat, never come in direct contact with vampires, let alone fight one, especially one that has successfully killed people. You are like a fly in a black widow's web. I implore you from one human being to another. Listen to every word I say. I have successfully fought, and in some cases defeated vampires in combat. It isn't pretty. For God's sake, do not be a hero. Stay back. If I start to lose, just run the fuck away. Find Swan and tell them what happened. Do you understand me? Good. Yeah, you're right. Candles are lit. Means something was here recently. Or maybe they still are. Man, this place is in bad shape. You looked around and couldn't help but agree. The pews were dusty and corroded. The cloth on the seats was frayed and falling apart. There were dozens of bricks all over the floor, broken walls. The only thing in good condition was the chandelier in the center of the room with many candles that brought the room a great sense of brightness. The silence in the church was deafening. The muffled storm outside still echoed in your ears. Raven walked ahead to the altar and motioned you over. Look at this. How disrespectful is that? Look at all these books. All of them have dog-eared pages. At least use a bookmark. Respect the literature if you're not going to respect the material. You religious, rat? I see. Come on, let's check that back room over there.
Whatever you're looking for here, you aren't going to find it.
You jumped and whipped around to face the voice that startled you to see no one there. The echo from the voice suggested they were inside the building, maybe even in the same room, but far away. You turned to Raven, who had his gun drawn and pointed at the rafters. You hadn't even heard him draw it. He glanced at you and placed his right index finger over his lips. He turned towards the rafters again, walking to the center of the room. My mistake. Thought this place had vacancies. Was hoping for a place to hang my hat in the off hours.
Well, I am looking for a roommate. Leave your resume by the door and maybe some chocolates on the altar, and I might get back to you on that.
What if what I'm looking for is a nice conversation with someone I can't see?
You might find that, if you try hard enough.
Can I get your name? I'd like to know who I'm talking to.
If I wanted you to know my name, you would already know it, mate.
Mate? You don't talk like most vampires, do you?
Why would I?
You know, I don't know. I guess I never really thought of it that way. Kind of a prejudiced assumption when you put it like that.
Oh, we just love growth in this household. I'm so proud of you for seeing the light.
Now that I've seen the light, I'd like to see you. But it seems you don't want that to happen either.
So true, bestie.
How often do you leave this place anyway?
Well, mainly whenever I need to go shopping or to grab a drink or a bite to eat.
Are you serious?
Are you mental? If I were to leave this place, there would be a mob waiting right outside my door the moment I stepped foot beyond the boundary line. I have been trapped in here for ages.
I find that incredibly hard to believe.
You can't even find me. Let alone anything I say hard to believe.
You've got a lot of attitude, huh?
Lot of sass, lot of ass. What can I say? I'm kind of a catch. And here you are, without even a fishing pole.
Is this little cat and mouse game getting boring? Come on, I just want to talk. Let's meet face to face.
Oh, so that's why you have your piece pointed at the ceiling. Hoping for me to show my lovely mug, are you? Get real. The moment I drop down, you're going to shoot me.
Alright, you want to play it that way?
Raven lowered his gun and put it in his holster. He slowly removed a dagger from his belt and tilted it so he hid it up his sleeve.
What about now? Feel safe enough to say hello?
You must think I'm daft if you think I didn't see you pull out that butter knife. I'm more offended that you think I can't see you more than anything else.
You want me to be unarmed when you're a supernatural being?
Well, when you put it like that.
You looked around waiting for a reply. Raven did the same. You both felt your hearts quicken.
I suppose that's only fair play.
You froze. That voice didn't echo like the others. It was closer. Much closer. You slowly turned around to look at Raven to see him just as frozen as you, except one difference. There was someone behind him. His expression was a mixture of startled fear and seriousness. He slowly prepared the knife in his left hand, turned his eyes to the left in the preparation. In one quick stroke, he slammed the knife towards the head of the vampire, only to have his blow caught with great ease. They locked eyes for a few moments, struggling. What the hell? You?
No way! Is that you?
The vampire pushed him back, and his boots slid on the floor, and he caught himself standing next to you. He dropped the knife and quickly drew his gun and pointed it at her. Her expression was full of childlike delight and joy, and his was full of rage and hatred. She was of average height, but not build. Her body was muscular and toned. Her arms and legs were thick and strong, and her ab muscles were defined. She wore a black flat cap that seemed to keep her wild, short, golden hair down. She spread her arms, her coat widening, and her cropped shirt revealing her stomach even more.
Oh my God! It's you! Come here! Oh! I'd recognize that glare anywhere! Holy shit! It's been forever! How have you been, man?
Shut the hell up! What are you even doing here?
She sighed, dropping her arms and putting her hands in her coat pockets.
Well, you're as pleasant as ever. Why'd you hang out with this guy? It's not exactly a ray of sunshine all the time. This is my home. I live here now. What, you didn't pick up on that after that little interview you gave me?
So, it was you all along. I knew you'd slip up one day.
Even after all this time, you still hate me? Still want to kill me, huh?
Now more than ever.
Look, I don't know why you're here or how you found me, but I humbly request that the both of you bugger off, alright? I am in no mood for a fight, and I don't want her to get here and see me fighting anyone.
You act like you're innocent. Totally innocent after all this time.
Well, I don't know, maybe that's because I didn't actually do what you're so mad at me about?
You think that makes one goddamn bit of difference?
Yeah. Why would you be mad at someone for something they didn't do? That's like arresting someone for somebody else's crime. That's a terrible analogy. You get what I mean?
It's not what you did. It's what you're destined to do. you're bound to repeat the same mistake they did, no matter how good you think you are. And I'm finally here to correct the mistake I made of not killing you the moment we met.
Raven's glare turned to a sinister grin. He squeezed his gun tighter and tighter by the moment.
I've been waiting a long time for this. Rat, stay back. This is gonna get pretty fucked up.
Fine. Fine. I've got a little time to spare, if that's what you want. But keep in mind, you are both in my house. You didn't even knock when you let yourselves in. Who does that? So, technically, that would make you two intruders, wouldn't it?
She tilted the flat cap away from her eyes, revealing a demonic orange glow in her irises. Her expression was that of excitement and bloodlust. Who was this person? Or a more dangerous question, what was this person?
And I absolutely hate intruders.
I'm sure you can guess what happened after that. But I've already told you so much in just the little amount of time. I feel like you might need some time to process everything that you heard. Listen, I know you just woke up from a year-long nap, but you look like you need another one. I know, you probably want to know more. But for now, let's put it on pause. I promise you, I'm not done telling this story. There's a lot more you need to know. Me? No, I'm gonna go out and get a little food. It looks like we're running low in here as is. Whoever was here last didn't supply the place. Yeah. Well, I should probably head out. In any case, I'll be back. No, don't worry. I'll be back soon. You don't have to worry. Just stay warm, okay? Have a good night, Rat.